Hello and welcome. In this video series, we are going to look at arrays. An array is a data structure which groups related variables of the same type. There is one special quality and at least two advantages for an array. The special quality is arrays are implemented as objects. Two of the advantages are: number one, arrays organize our data so we can manipulate the data. And number two, arrays organize our data so we can sort the data. In Java, an array can have one or more dimensions. We will cover a one-dimensional array, multi-dimensional array, and irregular array. As an introduction, here's the syntax for a one-dimensional array. We have array type, array name, and index. The array type is set when declaring an array. When the array is initialized, the number of elements must be set as well. Array type determines the data type of each value in the array. Array name is the name of the array, while index contains the value for an array. An index describes the position of an element. Notice the square brackets. We can add brackets before or after the array name. There's another way to declare and initialize an array. We can use the new operator. The new operator allocates memory for the array. Array size is the number of values in the array. Size determines how many elements an array can hold. This declaration operates just like an object declaration. Therefore, it has a two-step process. First, we declare an array reference variable. Second, we allocate memory for the array. Here's an example of a one-dimensional array. It has space to store 5 values. The first value is stored at number 0, and the last value is stored at number 4. All arrays have a fixed number of elements accessed by an index starting at 0. In this example, we know the values are 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. If you know the value of each array's element, then you can initialize the array with curly braces. Add opening and closing braces, then the values separated by a comma. Let's look at the multi-dimensional array. Multi-dimensional arrays are arrays where the elements are arrays themselves. It's considered an array of arrays. The most common multi-dimensional array is a two-dimensional array. Notice there are two sets of square brackets. Array size 1 is the number of values in the first dimension. Array size 2 is the number of values in the second dimension. The first dimension are rows and second dimension are columns. In this example, there are 5 rows and 10 columns. Therefore, to access an element on the third row, fourth column, we write number, then 3, 4 in square brackets. In this example, the value is 35. An irregular array is when the array has a different size. Only the first dimension is required when allocating memory for a multi-dimensional array. In this example, we see 7 is located in the first dimension, but nothing is located in the second dimension. Imagine we have a study schedule for each day of the week. Monday through Friday, we manage to study 2 times a day. As a result, on the left side of the expression, we write study with an index of 0 all the way to study with an index of 4. On the right side, we write new int 2 with 2 inside the square brackets. The 2 inside each bracket represents the number of times we study Monday through Friday. For Saturday and Sunday, we can study 4 times a day. Therefore, we write study 5 and study 6 with a length of 4. 4 represents the number of times we can study on the weekend. That's it for an introduction to arrays. Now, let's get into the demo with one-dimensional arrays. Imagine I want to store some numbers. The numbers can be stored like this. Int number 1 equals 5. Int number 2 equals 10. Int number 3 equals 15. However, this is not an efficient way of storing numbers. That's why we use arrays. The most efficient way is to store the same numbers in an array. We start with the array type, int, square brackets, then a name which will be number, and a semicolon. This statement declares an array. The square brackets can be placed before the array's name or after the name. Now let's initialize the values when creating this array. Curly brackets, 5, 10, 15. Java automatically allocates an array big enough to hold these 3 initializers. We declared an array of number by storing all of the values within the curly braces. Internally, some boxes are created and the values are stored in the boxes. Since we named the array number, the boxes are named number 0, number 1, and number 2. Recall, all arrays start at index 0. If we want to access the boxes, we write the array name, then the index 0, 1, or 2. Let's print the number. Sys out. What is the second number? Number 1 in the brackets, and run. What is the second number? 10. Array boundaries are strictly enforced. There are 3 elements, 5, 10, 15. We will get an exception if we try to access an element outside of the index bounds. For example, change index 1 to 10, then run. Exception shows array index out of bounds exception 10. Make sure to not go outside the array bounds. Change 10 back to 1. We can also declare then assign values to an array. Let's use a double data type. So we write double square bracket number equal new double square brackets with 4 inside the parentheses. In this case, the array is called number and 4 indicates how many values we want to allocate for the double data type. Now assign values to number 0 equal 5.0, number 1 equal to 10.0, and the number 2 equal to 15.0. This time, let's print all of the values using a for each loop. For parenthesis double temp variable colon number. Sysout print temp variable. Watch what happens when I comment the assignments and run. We see 0.0. That's because behind the scenes, Java created 4 boxes with a default value of 0.0 for double data type. Integer values default to 0 and string values default to null. Remove the comments and run again. Now we see 5.0, 10.0, 15.0, and 0.0. Next is two-dimensional array. A two-dimensional array is like a matrix. We see rows and columns that can be labeled like 3, 4 inside the square brackets. First dimension 3 represents the row, and second dimension 4 represents the column. To declare this type of array, we write int, 2 square brackets, the name, matrix, equals new int, and 2 more square brackets with 10 inside both square brackets. To assign values to a particular element, we can write matrix, square brackets, 3 and 4 equal 35. However, let's assign values to all elements using 2 for loops. This is a loop within a loop. First, initialize the temp value to 1, then the for loop. Int row equals 0, row less than 10, row plus plus, and inside that loop we have int column equals 0, column less than 10, column plus plus. Now we write matrix, row, column, equal temp value. Then increment temp value by 1 using plus plus. Let me explain these for loops and assignments. When row equals 0 and the column equals 0, then assign the initial temp value 1. Increase the temp value from 1 to 2. Now the program remains in the second for loop with column. When row equals 0 and column equals 1, assign 2 to the matrix. This execution will continue until row and column is 9, because 9 is less than 10. Let's print system.out.print. Notice I'm not skipping a line with this statement. Therefore, I don't include ln after print. Matrix, row, column, plus tab. Now skip a line after each row by adding sysout after the inner for loop. Let's run. We see 1 through 100 with 10 numbers on each row and 10 numbers in each column. That's it for Java arrays. Thank you.
All Part 1 ebooks and PDF documents are free. Programming books for UFT. Programming books for Java. Here's the Selenium Automation book. And TestNG. Subscribe to get notification of future videos. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.